Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to be starting now. We're going to roll the cameras. Thank you. Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, His Excellency Nicholas Perry, United States Ambassador to Jamaica, Mrs. Marcia Henry Martin, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development. Good to see you. I also note that the chairman of ODPEM is also here with us, and it's always good to see you, Dennis Chung. We also have Mr. Richard Thompson, the Acting Director General of the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, Erin Taylor, USAID Acting Country Representative, all the members of ODPEM. I see a lot of you around, the members from the U.S. Embassy and the USAID team, all the members of the media. Good afternoon to all of you. This is not going to be a long ceremony. It's going to be very efficient. We know that everybody is busy, and I know especially with the ODPEM team that's here, there's a lot of work that you are all doing. And so we are going to be very efficient with time today. But we're here today because of the strong and enduring partnership between Jamaica and the United States. Our diplomatic relationship is a robust and multifaceted partnership grounded in mutual respect, shared values, and common interests. This enduring partnership encompasses cooperation in a myriad of areas, such as trade, security, education, and disaster management. The United States has been a vital friend in supporting Jamaica's economic development, cybersecurity activities, public health initiatives, and response to natural disasters. And as you all know, Hurricane Beryl was the earliest Category 5 hurricane on record. And the hurricane struck Jamaica on July 3, and it had a devastating impact on the island, causing widespread damage and disruption. Despite the challenges, the resilience of the Jamaican people and the swift response from the local teams, including ODPEM, where we are today, and our friends from the international community and international agencies have been pivotal in bolstering the government's ongoing recovery efforts. The U.S. has been a steadfast partner in this respect, and they were the first to provide us with support after the passage of Hurricane Beryl. And so the first person who will speak to you today is someone who I believe is somewhat behind the U.S. government being first in offering its hand of support. And Ambassador Nick Perry was confirmed by the U.S. Senate to be the ambassador to Jamaica on March 10, 2022. He is the first person born in Jamaica to hold this position. Nick Perry is a former New York State Assemblyman. He represented the 58th District for 30 years. The 58th District includes parts of East Flatbush, Brownsville, and Crown Heights. Nick Perry was born and raised in Jamaica, the fourth of 5 sons in a family of 11 children. He completed his secondary education, and he proudly says this all the time, at Kingston College, where he attended on a full scholarship, and he worked for the Bustamante Industrial Trade Union before departing for the United States in the summer of 1971. He has done us proud, and when we see the support that we have received from the United States, we know that he had a lot to do with that advocacy on behalf of Jamaica. And we thank you for that, Ambassador. And I now invite Ambassador Nick Perry to come and address you today.
Good evening. Afternoon, rather. Okay, good afternoon. I don't have to always be as diplomatic as I'm trained to be, because I was in Rochester a few days ago, and I told the Jamaican community that I have the good standing and ability to say I'm home, whether I'm in New York, Washington, or in Jamaica. So I understand the turf pretty well. Most Honorable Prime Minister Andrew Holness. Senator Honorable Dana Morrison-Dixon, Minister without portfolio in the Office of the Prime Minister. Ms. Marcia Henry Martin, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development. Mr. Dennis Chung, Chairman of PEN. Ms. Erin Taylor, Acting Country Representative, USAID Jamaica. Mr. Richard Thompson, Acting Director General in the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management. It's up them again. Other Government of Jamaica and U.S. Embassy officials who are here with us today, the media and other guests. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. It is my distinct pleasure to be here with you for this handover of essential relief supplies in response to the request from ODPEN, Jamaica's Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management. Following the unwelcome visit from Hurricane Beryl, ODPEN reached out, and we are here this afternoon to deliver, to answer your request. Today's contribution of over $360,000 US in supplies is part of a larger $2.5 million hurricane support and assistance from the United States, from our International Development Bureau for Human Assistance, the USAID BHA. This handover ceremony underscores our unwavering commitment to stand with Jamaica in times of need. The supplies today include various commodities consisting of 10,000 plastic tarps and 5,000 shelter fixing kits, as well as financial contributions to the Jamaica Red Cross to support the communities most affected by the hurricane. The destruction caused by Hurricane Beryl has been significant, notwithstanding that most of the island was spared. Beryl's passage has and continues to severely affect many lives and communities. It has been nearly a month since the hurricane battered Jamaica's south coast, and it is necessary that we continue to be coordinated and robust in our response efforts. This relief contribution follows a recent visit from the U.S. Navy Continuing Promise mission that delivered crucial medical and emergency supplies. As U.S. Ambassador here, I was proud to welcome the USS Burlington as it arrived with desperately needed relief supplies within a day or within days after the hurricane struck. The resilient spirit of strength of the Jamaican people continues to inspire us, and the United States is likewise committed to supporting all your ongoing recovery efforts. The supplies being handed over today will play an important role in meeting the immediate needs of as many of those affected as we can by providing much-needed assistance and aid. the United States government stands in solidarity with Jamaica, not just in times of disaster, but as enduring friends and partners in resilience and recovery. I would like to extend my deepest gratitude to the USAID BHA for their relentless efforts and to ADPEM for their leadership in the island's disaster preparedness, response, and recovery. Together, we can rebuild and restore hope to affected Jamaicans in the wake of this disaster. We are happy to stand with you, and my message to you is that we stand together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador, as always. And I have to also say thank you to Erin Taylor. Please convey our thanks to USAID. This has been really, really a good show of support. And it's not just this, as the Ambassador said, it was also the previous shipment that came in with medical supplies, which we were very, very grateful for also. So again, thank you, Ambassador, and thank you to the people of the United States. Of course, you know, we're having this handover, and we have a special person here in our midst, which shows the importance of this relationship that we have. We have our Prime Minister here, and he has been leading the charge in terms of the pre-burial preparation, the during burial. He was out there in his raincoat, marshalling the troops. He was here during the hurricane at the command center. He has been around Jamaica after the hurricane. He has been impressing upon all of his cabinet ministers that we have to do everything that we can to make sure that those who are affected feel that they are being supported and they are being helped to get back on their feet. Our Prime Minister has been walking the talk a lot in relation to this, in relation to the impact of climate change, and it is an honor for me to introduce our Prime Minister, the Most Honourable Andrew Holness, to speak to you.
Thank you, Minister, for that wonderful introduction and your mastery of the ceremony so far. Allow me to acknowledge His Excellency Nick Perry, United States Ambassador to Jamaica, Erin Taylor, USAID Acting Country Representative, Mrs. Marsha Henry Martin, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development, our newly appointed Chairman of ADPEM, Mr. Dennis Strong, and Mr. Richard Thompson, Acting Director of ADPEM, other specially invited guests, representatives of the media, ladies and gentlemen, it is truly a good afternoon. We live in a time of frequent, multiple, and overlapping crises. That is what defines the era of climate change. And the challenges for government in small island developing states is to develop the endurance, the robustness, and the resilience to deal with these multiple, frequent, and overlapping crises. If you were to consider the case of Jamaica, or the region in its entirety, we're just coming out of one crisis, which it's a 1 in a 100-year event, which is a pandemic. And then that pandemic spawned another set of crises, a supply chain crisis, an inflationary crisis. For other countries, it would have spawned a debt crisis. And then we have other exogenous shocks, wars, war in the Ukraine, now the war in Palestine. which again has an impact on shipping, on supply chains. And then we have weather crises. For the last 8 years or so, almost every year, Jamaica has experienced a weather crisis that has had an impact on our fiscal affairs. Every country has a weather event, but a weather event in the United States is quite different from a weather event in Jamaica. A weather event in Jamaica has a fiscal impact nationally. So whether it is severe droughts, which would cause us to make allocations for trucking of water, which we did not plan for, or whether it is some heavy showers of rain, which resulted in flooding, or the destruction of roadways, or land slippages, which we have to budget for, or in this case, a hurricane. So you can see how governments in small island developing states have to operate. We are facing several crises, multiple crises, and they are happening more frequently, but they are also overlapping. So before you get out of one, you're into another. And all of them have fiscal implications, meaning that what you had budget to do in a particular year could easily be derailed or redirected into the relief and recovery from the crises, which means that your plans for growth and development gets sidetracked. Now, what has changed for Jamaica? What has changed for Jamaica is that in former years, we would have to borrow to recover from crises. Because Jamaica has engaged in a robust program of fiscal management, we put in place buffers in our budget. So I am certain to say that for the first time in our history, we had self-insured, meaning we had put aside a part of our past budgets for meeting future disasters. We can do that to deal with what is described as high frequency, low severity events, meaning for the last 8 years, all the flood events that we have had, all the drought events that we have had, we have been able to deal with that within the envelope of our budget. And even with this hurricane, we had provisions in place with our disaster fund. But we also insured for low frequency but high severity events. And therefore we were able to draw from the CRIF, and if it had gotten really bad, then we would have had our catastrophe bond. So Jamaica is in a better place today than we were a decade ago because we have improved significantly our fiscal affairs. However, we live in a community of nations. And more than that, the truth is that Jamaica is a country that has more of its population in other countries than in Jamaica. So Jamaica is intertwined in many countries, particularly in this region. In fact, Jamaica is a net provider of talent and human resources to the region, to the point that the Vice President of the United States has some very strong Jamaican connections. But because of that fraternal and an almost familial relationship with our friends in the United States. There is always that kind of support that is available to Jamaica. And we do not take it for granted, and we are always very appreciative of it. And I would remind Jamaicans that when we were struck by Hurricane Gilbert, 90% of this room was not around at that time. But it was the United States that was first on the scene to support then Prime Minister Edward Seaga. I recall flying him around the country to survey the damage, first here on the ground with immediate relief supplies, and was very much here supporting us through the recovery, including the provision of linesmen to restore electricity in the island. So our relationship with the United States is very strong. It goes way beyond the $3 billion of trade between us in 2023. It goes way beyond the almost 3 million tourists that visit our island. That bond is very strong, very, very strong. And we continue to nourish it and to ensure that that relationship is there for future generations. Now, the provision today of assistance is part of a larger package of approximately $2.5 million US, which will assist in many ways. The structure of our administration is that there is a central management of these kinds of assistance, so it goes directly to ODPEM. ODPEM is the entity that manages these kinds of humanitarian assistance, and so there is a cooperation between the USAID and ODPEM. That means that there is a standard for accountability, a standard for use, and both benefit. So the United States taxpayers can be assured that whatever is given to Jamaica in response to the relief effort will be well used and used in accordance with the various parameters set by the USAID. And I want to reinforce that we do have this very strong and robust and accountable institution that manages whatever philanthropy is given. And I think I need to say it because there is always a sense that whatever is given may not be properly used. And I want to reassure all who are giving, not just the United States, but all countries and all private donors, that the government takes accountability very seriously. The ODPEM knows that that is the policy direction. Whatever is given must be accounted for to the donor, to the government of Jamaica, and to the beneficiary, the recipient. There is a sense sometimes that in a time of crisis, in a natural disaster, that there must be, we must dispense with accountability. The truth is that after everyone has received the aid, and then we start to account, nobody remembers that there was a crisis. And then you are being held to the post-crisis standard. This government is not going to be trapped in that. I want that to be absolutely clear. Right? So there is a standard crisis or no crisis of accountability, which must be maintained and respected at all times. And that is the direction to ODPEM. And so we encourage anyone who is giving to direct it through ODPEM, through this established system where there can be reporting and accountability. So, in closing, Ambassador, Jamaica is a very safe place for tourists, particularly American tourists. and our security forces, and indeed our health services. We are a developing country. We face certain realities, but we are building a society, an economy, and a country that is safe for all. And what we want to achieve is not just sun, sea, and sand, those three S's. We have some other S's that we're going to add to it. I see the director laughing. I don't know what is on his mind. But we want, in addition to sun, sea, and sand, we want safety, security, seamlessness. All right? All of those other S's, which makes Jamaica a place of choice for our American family members to come and visit and feel at home. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister Holness. And it's nice to hear you remind us of the fiscal prudence of the administration, and it is really you that has led this fiscal prudence. I know that for me, for most of my life, whenever there was a hurricane or any natural disaster, it meant economic crisis. And it's really nice to be a part of an administration that has been this prudent and forward-thinking, where we actually can say, we have some money. Yes, we do need some support, and we welcome all the support we've gotten from all the donors, but we also are in a position that we've never been in as a country, where we can say, you know, we have some savings that we can use and we can invest in the recovery effort. And so that's all you, Prime Minister. And so I want to also thank you on behalf of the people of Jamaica for leading us in that kind of way. And as the ambassador had said, there are many things that are being handed over today. There is a fact sheet for all members of the media where you can see all of the many things that have come from the tarps which you heard about. There are shelter fixing kits that will help in the rebuilding effort. We know a lot of persons in southwest Jamaica need those helps. There are water tanks that are there. There are also mattresses, the food vouchers, the bedding, and other things that are in this delivery that has come in. And as I said, this is the second one, and this is in addition to other support that has been given to Jamaica through other NGOs. And so to Erin again, USAID, I want to thank you. Ambassador, I have to thank you for your constant advocacy on our behalf. And as you would have heard and seen, today's gesture represents not only the transfer of vital resources, but also the deep friendship and cooperation between our countries. And today, obviously, is marking another milestone in our journey towards recovery in Jamaica. And we're deeply grateful for your support. And as we close, I want to thank the ODPEM team for organizing. You saw the supplies here. They came in yesterday, I think it was, and they were able to get it through customs seamlessly and get it here to the ODPEM offices. I have to thank them for their work and everybody who's been involved in making the process very easy for donations to come in. And that's something that we need to note. Prime Minister, that was a concern of yours. That has been fixed. We are working very seamlessly across the government agencies to make it work. And so, Mr. Thompson, congratulations to you and the team in terms of all of that work. I also want to thank the USAID team for all their work in marshalling everything here today. And of course, the U.S. Embassy team, and I can't not say Mike Lavallee and his work as Public Affairs Officer and coordinating all of this and making sure he emails me every single day. Thank you, Mike, and it has gone well. And so I thank you all again for being here, and the event continues downstairs where we actually have the handover of the packages, but in the interim, we're going to do a photo up here, and so members of the media who have their microphones up here, we're asking that you come and take them and proceed downstairs for the second part of the handover ceremony.